Welcome to the Master Cars Pro channel. Today we talk about the problems and weaknesses of this wonderful car. We are starting with the power units as usual. For Škoda Superb B6 there are 4 petrol units: 1.4 TSI, 1.8 TSI, 2.0 TSI, 3.6 V6 FSI and 3 diesel units: 1.6 TDI, 1.9 TDI and 2.0 TDI. The problematic area of the 1.4 TSI is a defective tensure and weak timing chain, which may need to be replaced after 50,000 km. When the first symptoms appear: crackling, diesel, metal ringing when starting a cold engine. You should immediately contact the service, since a chain jump by at least one tooth will lead to a fatal meeting of the valves with the pistons. To extend the life of the tensure and chain, you need to use the original oil and change it in a timely manner, and also try not to put the car on a slope in a gear. There are problems with reliability of pistons and oil scrapper rings. The latter can begin to collapse without having served even 100,000 km. The disease is manifested by increased oil consumption. Typically, piston problems are caused by poor fuel quality, which causes destructive detonation. Also, when using diluted gasoline, we will be asked to replace the injection pump and injectors quite early. Another common disadvantage of this engine is the unreliability of the variable valve timing system. A characteristic diesel noise appears and the engine starts to work unstable. In addition, a short service life of liners, a pump, an air conditioner compressor, a turbocharger and a tendency to caulking of the oil reservoir and the valves can be noted. Engines with a volume 1.8 and 2.0 liters belong to the EA 888 series and have identical problems. The main ailment is the unreliability of the timing chain, which in most cases need to be replaced at a mileage of 120–150,000 km. If you do nothing, then the risk of a chain jump and subsequent bending of the valves increases. For cars with a 1.8 BZB engine produced before 2010, the chain could jump after a long stay on the slope in front of the upward. The jump occurred during the start. It is also common to see increased oil consumption caused by wear and poorly designed piston rings, very thin and have too small drain holes. The problem appears after 50,000 km of run and progresses with its increase. The oil separator can also cause increased oil consumption. It is worth noting that the presence of increased oil consumption accelerates the process of caulking of the piston group and will spark of plugs. In addition, in these engines the fuel injection pump failed. If it malfunctions, the engine suddenly stalls and does not start, and problems with the pump. Unstable idle is the most often caused by poor throttle and poor fuel rail. If traces of oil appear on the engine, then the reason, as a rule, is in the crankcase ventilation system. If the ailment is not eliminated over time, traces of oil will appear on the intake pipes and the upper timing cover, and then it will begin to squeeze out the rear crankshaft oil seal. Despite the ailments described above, these motors are capable for serving 250–300,000 km, however subjected to adequate maintenance. The atmospheric engine 3.6 EA390 boasts a high level of reliability, which compares favorably with modern turbocharged engines. Despite this, it is difficult to call it problem-free. As with previous units, the piston of these motors is prone to caulking with all ensuing consequences. Also, the disadvantages include the unreliability of the timing belt and the capriciousness of the fuel equipment, injectors sensitive to fuel quality, problems with starting in winter, fuel pump leaks. The picture is complemented by a not very successful intake system, short-lived ignition coils with a thermostat, and glitches in the engine electronics. Despite all sorts of problems, the engine can last about 300–400,000 km without significant breakdowns, however subject to proper maintenance and the use of high-quality gasoline. Diesel engines have not only better dynamic performance and economy than gasoline units, but also surpass them in reliability. The most successful among diesel engines are considered to be 2.0 engines of the EA 189 series after 2010 release, and 1.6 liter unit created on its basis. Among the shortcomings here we can note the unreliability of the hexagon of the oil pump, which needs to be replaced closer to 200,000 km. If you do not keep track of it, the oil pressure in the engine will drop with all the ensuing negative consequences. On the same run, the swivel flaps in the intake manifold may require attention due to heavy contamination with leach. There are frequent problems with the cooling system and temperature sensor. The intake manifold with EGR needs to be cleaned approximately every 100,000 km. When using low-quality diesel fuel, you should not count on a large resource of nozzles and high-pressure fuel pumps. Due to unsatisfactory condition of the nozzles and candles, the engine may start poorly stalled. With high quality and regular maintenance, the resource of these units will exceed 300–400,000 km. Engines of 1.9 and 2.0 liters up to 2010 belong to the EA188 series. These engines wear out rather quickly the seats of the unit's injectors, which leads to the ingress of fuel into the oil, and there are difficulties with starting. In case of untimely maintenance, problems can also be caused by the camshaft cams, the failure of which often leads to replacement of the camshaft along with the hydraulic lifters. As with more recent units, the hexagon in the oil pump drive is not famous for its reliability. After 200,000 km, a variable geometry turbine requires attention, wedges, as a result traction worsens. In our reality, fuel injection pumps, injectors, particulate filter and EGR valve are not famous for their reliability. The resource of the units is 400,000+ km. Paired with the motors, 3 types of gearboxes were installed: 5 and 6 speed mechanics, automatic transmission, as well as 6 and speed DSG robot. Mechanical transmissions are generally reliable and do not pose any particular problems with careful operation. However, for those who like to drive at traffic lights, the dual mass flywheel, differential and clutch kit are quickly surrendered. The reliability of an automatic transmission ISNT F60SN09G is also not so bad, although it is rarely found in our market. It was installed with a 1.8 gasoline engine. The main disadvantage of this gearbox is an unsuccessful heat exchanger. It quickly becomes clogged with dirt. It should be noted, when operating a car with a dirty heat exchanger, the gearbox resource is greatly reduced. With long service intervals of the automatic machine, the process of oil contamination of the solenoids and the friction lining of the torque converter accelerates, which operates in an unusually intense mode. Depending on the quality of the service, it serves 100–250,000 km. The mechanical part of the automatic transmission is quite strong, but it painfully tolerates excessive oil contamination. Dirt quickly destroys the pumps, the rear cover sleeve and the K-free drum. The weak points here also include the sun gear bushings and the washers of the front planetary satellites. DSG robotic transmission can cause much more trouble. The most problematic is the 7-speed robot with 2 dry clutches. This transmission is especially unreliable on cars of the first years of production. The most common nuisance is the rapid wear of the clutch. Depending on the operating conditions, it serves 50–100,000 km. Symptoms are kicks, jerks, vibration, and loss of traction during acceleration. Replacing the clutch, $400–500. Closer to 150,000 km, the electro-hydraulic control unit needs to be replaced. In case of an unsatisfactory state of the mechatronics, jerks during switching and oil leaks appear, and some gears may also disappear. There are also complaints about the mechanical part of the transmission. The shaft bearings, the seats of the inclusion rods and the valve-body solenoids quickly wear out. The 6 reverse fork is also considered quite vulnerable, in the event of malfunction of which the reverse and 2/4 gears disappear, and the box itself goes into emergency operation. In order to slightly extend the service life of the manual transmission, it is recommended not only to regularly change the lubricant in it, but also to periodically clean the mechatronics. The 6-speed robot, in contrast to the 7-speed one, uses a wet-tight double clutch. The friction part of the mechanism is an oil bath, so that the clutch resource does not raise questions. The mechatronic engineer began to serve longer, but in the event of a breakdown, you will have to fork out for a tidy sum. Buying a new flywheel costs more than a contract box. With long service intervals, once every 40,000 km or more, wear products will quickly kill the valve-body solenoids. The recommended interval for changing the working fluid is every 15–30,000 km. Another problem is the presence of jerks and vibrations, which are sometimes difficult to get rid of. Most often the trouble is caused by wear on the double clutch, malfunction of speed sensors and the presence of chips in the box. As for the breakdowns in the mechanical part, here are the same problems as in the 7th step. Well, if you are the owner of this car, then please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your feedback what will help viewers when choosing a car. I'm done. Thank you all very much for your attention. I'm very grateful to you if you subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. See you soon!